Okay, let's go ahead and start this.
Okay.
So, for starters, can I get your name, your job description? Well, not the whole description, just what is your job? How many years you've been doing this, and what is your favorite quote in education?
Okay. So my name is Rhoda MacCormack. I am a Pupil Personnel Worker. This is year 19 for me. I did, 13 years as a 3rd and 4th grade teacher. And then now this is year 6 as a Pupil Personnel Worker. My favorite quote, I remember my first year as as a teacher, I found this like poster, and it like one of the like long ones that go across like the top of a room. And it said, "Shoot for the moon. If you miss, you'll still land amongst the stars."
Gotcha.
And I thought that was super cool because it's basically saying like, aim high, do your best, and effort goes a long way. So even if, you don't get the outcome that you were thinking, it still may be a great outcome in the end.
Gotcha. So what initially brought you into education? Well, no. Before you answer that, and I think you said this a second ago, how long have you been a PPW?
I've been a PPW for 6 years.
6 years. Okay. And I think you said that already.
And then 13 years this is year 6 at the PPW, but 13 years as a teacher, classroom teacher.
Gotcha. So what brought you into education?
So I think it was always a passion of mine and this goes along with my why too, but I always had a good connection with kids. Like even as a kid myself, I always had a good connection with younger kids where it was like, I knew how to speak to them. I knew how to teach them stuff, even the minor things with my cousins, like you try and learn how to bake a cake or whatever it is. They always came to me, "Well, Rhoda, how do you do this?" Because I had a way with my words and a way to explain stuff to them. So I always felt like that was a strength of mine. Also, I felt that I've always been a person about connection and being able to connect with people. And I wanted to make a difference in our future because I do believe that the kids are the future. I'm not trying to be cliche, with Michael Jackson's song or anything, but or actually Whitney Houston, excuse me. But I do believe that. Like, I want to have a connection to what our future is as a society. So the biggest thing that brought me in was passion. I also grew up around teachers. My grandmother, who is my favorite person in my family, don't tell anybody that, who passed away some years ago, she was a teacher for years. And I remember being little and her telling me about her teaching experiences, and I just admired it. I admired how, like, her even being of grandma age, and there were grown adults who were coming back to see her. They were coming to our house to visit. They were coming back to see her and tell her about, how great of an experience they had because of her. So in combination, all those things is why I'm here.
Gotcha. So, I mean, which you already said that, right? Is identifying your why, but like going a little bit deeper in identifying your why, like, why do you continue to do what you do? Like, I know, as a kid, and when you first go into the profession, everybody has a why they want to become a teacher, right? This is the family business, or I had to do this, I kind of just fell into it, whatever it is. You've been doing this now for, you said 19?
Yes.
19 years. Why do you continue to do what you do?
Why do I continue? Well, that is
give me the
definitely
honest
deeper.
answer. Some people like, look, I'm close to retirement. Like, I got to pay these bills. Whatever it is for you. What is your why?
It could be, but I think I wanted to be a visible person for our students of color. So I can tell you when I first started teaching, when I was going through college, I went to Towson, and Towson had a partnership with Howard County. So they were like, okay, you're going to the schools, you'll, do your internship there. I got my an offer from the school where I interned, which was not in a diverse area. I would have been the first Black teacher in a long time and the only for a while, which I, later found out. So I think for me, one person said to me, because my whole thing was, I'm going back to PG County. I need to go back and give back to my community that raised me. And I think it was my mom and a friend of mine at the time was just like, think about those kids that are at that school that isn't as diverse. And they need to see someone like you to know that this is what success may look like, or this is what, a grown person who's professional may look like. So that's something that has really kept me here, because I think kids need to see that there are people who look like them and people that they can relate to that are in these professions. We're not doing things that are not lucrative and things like that. Like, we are actually in schools and trying to help. So that's one reason why I'm here. The other thing is, I am a person who lives for helping. I want to help. I want to make sure that I'm supporting people that may not be able to support themselves, and also teaching people how to advocate for themselves too. That's one of the main reasons that I got into being a PPW, is because of that, like, empowerment and advocacy.
Okay. So when did you fall in love with the profession of education? Was there a specific moment? Was there like a specific group of kids? Like, when did you feel like, you know what, I actually think I really enjoy what I do?
I think there were several. This is like a scaffolded question for me, because I feel like there are several instances in my career where I kind of felt like I love this. So like I said, my first school was not diverse at all. And I think for me, it was probably my second or third year at that first school. And I had a parent that came to me, and she was like, she just held my hand and she said, "You have no idea how grateful I am to see you here." She said, "My daughter, since she's been in this school, has never had anyone that looks like her in this building." And she said she's had the best year she's ever had. Like, I can't explain to you what it means. And she wasn't saying there weren't previous great teachers. She was just saying that there's a kind of relationship, student to teacher, that you have when you feel like you can relate and connect with that person, and that's someone you can trust. And a child at that third grade age can see that.
Right.
So that was the big thing. Like, so at that moment, I was like, okay, I'm doing something right. Because sometimes, especially as a young teacher, you may not be sure. You're trying to figure things out too. You're new. You're trying to kind of make your way in this profession. And at that moment was when I felt like, okay, I'm doing something right. I had another experience where, this is years later, where I had a student who wrote me a letter. I guess in high school, it was like an assignment to write to your favorite teacher. And just the words that he used, because he was a student who from what I can think about, it took a while to get through to him. Like, it was hard to break him. His perspective and what he wrote in the letter, he basically said that, I didn't know that I can learn, and you taught me that I can learn. And I think that in that moment, I was like, oh, like, it's because sometimes we kind of take our own talents for granted, because it's like just natural to us. But in that moment, it really made me say, oh, wow, like, what I'm doing made a difference. And here he is in high school, reflecting back to third grade. And he's had multiple teachers since then. And I'm the one he wrote about.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's funny you say that. It's like, because I think about, we all have those students and those teachers. Like, from his perspective, like, I'll tell anybody, my seventh grade English teacher, right, was the one who really, Miss Allison, she was really the one who really helped me out a lot. Like, she taught me, I knew how to read words, but I didn't really know how to read. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Right.
So it's like for that last question, for example, it's like, when did you fall in love? Like, that's how I used to read. I know the words, I just, whatever. But it's like, she's like, no, like, just train your eye to be a word or two ahead. Right. And that kind of helps you flow with it.
Right.
So for him, and I'll say all that just because this is like, he probably was kind of thinking similar to me. It was like, you don't know what you don't know. And then you probably lit that spark for him, even in third grade. So that's good. All right. So anywho, sorry, it's not about me. It's about me. So okay. We all have that love. We love the profession. And we have those moments. And we have the moments just like you described with the parent. On the flip side, every teacher, I don't care how good or how much you struggle, how experienced or inexperienced you are, we all have those moments that make us question, is this really something I want to do? Right. So what may have like challenged your love? What made you maybe even doubt yourself, if anything?
Right. Well, I would say towards the end of my teaching days, so like within that 13-year time, I started to really wonder if I was reaching the child, or really getting through to the children. I felt like my patience was a little bit thinner than it had been in previous years. And in reflection, I think, looking back on it now too, I really wanted to understand the holistic view of the child. Like, What is the family life like? And as a teacher, you don't always get all of that. You know, like you get what's in synergy, you get previous report cards, you get, you know, whatever the parent may tell you, or through articulation, you may get some information from a previous teacher. But I think I was starting to feel like my patience is thin. I want to know more about the child, and I want to kind of get to the, like, I don't know, like what is the makeup of this child? Like, how did they get here? And I think I felt like I was getting surface level information, and I felt like I wanted to know more to be the best educator I could. I realized that as a teacher, it's hard. You know, you have 30 kids or however many you may have if you know, teach in middle school or high school, and it's hard to get that. So that kind of was the bridge for me to get into what I'm doing now, which I do get the holistic view of the family. Now, I'm not in a classroom, but I'm able to see, like, what is this makeup of this child and how they got to that seat.
Right.
And those are things you didn't know as a teacher. And I think I had some frustration with it because I felt like there were judgment. There were things that I was noticing other teachers might have been doing or saying. And my patience was thin. I wasn't getting the support I needed because I didn't have all the information. And I think at that point I was like, I think you need to look into something else that will allow you to have that view and help in a different way.
Right. You know, that's kind of the purpose of why I'm doing this, right? So for a lot of teachers, and kind of somewhat going off on a tangent, but this is important, I guess, for anybody who may be listening to this. The purpose of this is the kid wakes up in the morning. Their first teacher is really their parent, right? From birth, their first teacher is their parent. That parent then puts that kid on the bus. Maybe they're driving to school, but that kid then puts somebody on. That parent puts the kid on the bus. Now the bus driver is one who's in charge of that child.
Right.
The bus driver may see something going on with that kid long before they even get into the school. They get off the bus, they walk into the building. Maybe there's an administrator who greets them. Maybe it's a school resource officer. It could be anybody. That kid then goes to breakfast, and then the cafeteria staff sees him, right? Then if the kid is kind of walking around the hallway, maybe a custodian sees him, maybe a BSAP sees him, maybe a Hispanic liaison. All of these are people who are working on behalf of the child before they even walk in the classroom. Right? So all these people may see something, they may notice something, may know something about that kid that the teacher just doesn't see. But it's like it's so cliche. It's so cliche, and I hate to say it, but it takes a village.
It takes a village, it does.
Yeah, so it's like most parents just think it's just on the teachers, but it's not. It takes all of us. So,
right.
In your role as a PPW and with many of the things that you do, and for the people who are listening in their districts who may not have a PPW, what would you, if you could think of another title that you would give yourself? I don't know, that sounds weird, right?
Yeah.
But what else would, for them, so they can kind of understand what you do?
So I just say 3 words. I say, like, if you were to combine social work, truancy officer, and like residency evaluator. Yeah. If you were to mix them all in, that might give you a kind of an idea of what I do, but not really.
No, and there's no clear, this is exactly what it is you do. But I feel like exactly what you just said is perfect, though. I mean, it's a mix of all of those. You don't do all of what they do,
right?
But you kind of dibble and dabble into all of that. Gotcha. Okay. So in your role, do you have a mentor that kind of keeps you uplifted? Maybe not in your role, but just in education in general. Yeah. More specifically your role, but do you have someone who keeps you uplifted? Who are they? And why are they your mentor?
You want me to say their names too?
I want you to say their names.
All right.
We gotta uplift these people.
That's right.
We gotta let them know that this is what they do.
Let's do it. So the teacher Rhoda, someone who I'm still very close to. I still I call her my confidant. She just retired last year. Her name is Pam Rockland. She was a teacher for my first school. And we weren't on the same team at first, and then towards the end of the time where I was at that school, we were on the same team. She's a team leader. I just see her as someone who had the biggest heart, and I aspired to be like her. And people might say I had a big heart also, but I just, looking from the outside in, she had a big heart. She was about the kids. She was about the parents. She was about her job. She multitasked like someone I've never seen multitask before. Even her own home life, I just admired her. And we created a great friendship. She retired last year. I went to her retirement party, everything. And like my family is involved with her. You know, I am involved with her family. I taught her daughter. Her daughter's now in college. Yeah, so she's someone who I do look back and really think that she made a huge difference in my career as a teacher. My career as a PPW, I can only name Jomo folks.
Hey, that's my guy. That's my guy.
Jomo and I go way back because I did BSAP summer school for a while, like Summer Institute, and there were years where he joined in, and we had good times. But Jomo was a great teacher back then, and then he became an all-ed teacher, and now we say student engagement teacher, and he got into the PPW field. So I used to keep in touch with him and just be like, you know, especially around that time when I was teetering with the like, I need the holistic view of the child type thing, and I was feeling the frustration that I had within myself. I reached out to him and I'm like, explain to me what you do again. And he explained, and you know, he was just like, I really think this will be something good for you. I'm just saying. So really look into it. So I took the classes, I did everything, and at the time, I actually too was working with. I went to a missional church, and we were doing a lot of outreach. So it really was feeding that passion of like, you know, community, community involvement, helping to empower people who may be facing hardships and all that. So Jomo really just took me under his wing and helped me get through that process to the point it was seamless. Like I interviewed for the first time, I got the job the first time. And even after I got the job and you're a new PPW and there's so much coming at you, I started in COVID too. So I kind of was on my own island at my house starting this job, which wasn't experience.
We're gonna get
that. That was an experience.
It's funny because that's leading into the next question.
Yeah, it was an experience. So I think just knowing that, even though I felt like I was on my own island, I had Jomo there to like contact and say, hey, like this is what I'm experiencing. There was no judgment, you know. I didn't have to feel like embarrassed if I was asking, you know, a question that is common sense or whatever. Like I knew that I could have that, you know, non-judgmental response from him and conversation with him. So Jomo, I appreciate you.
You know, hey, look, you already know I'm saying this to Jomo. You already know I'm going to. Now Jomo's my guy. Yeah. You know, no, so it's interesting that you said that. You were kind of alluding to the next question, which is, how has your work style evolved since your first year as a PPW? You know, I'm a halfway throw that first year out because we were in COVID. Yeah. So I'm gonna throw that first year out. Not completely, but kind of. We were in COVID, so it's very, very different than how we do things now. Right. But how has your work style evolved from when you first started this job to what you do now? Yeah. So to how you work now? Yeah.
I think when I first started, I was really in the teacher mentality. And teacher mentality as in, like I said, that surface level connection with families. It's hard to break. And I do remember Jomo saying to me, like, all right, so this is your perspective now as a PPW. You're not a teacher anymore. This is how we may answer this email, or this is, you know, pick up the phone and call the parent. Have a real conversation with them about what's happening. Because, you know, when you're a teacher, you are not, you come across very professional, but it's like there's standard things that you have to say in certain situations. And I think that's where my mindset was. Because we are people as PPWs who deal with people in crisis, our families are in crisis. There's a different approach. There's a different way you speak to them. There's a different way you approach them, even if you're sharing good or bad news. And that was a huge adjustment for me. I think what really changed over time is being a more relatable person. I think these people want to know that, you know, the families we deal with, they want to know that they can trust you. They're coming from a lot of hardship where people have let them down. And I think they have this like rigid kind of wall up where it's like, we can't trust the school because they're a part of, you know, a bigger organization that let us down.
They're part of the system.
We part of the system. So
man, that Illuminati.
Exactly. They let us down. So basically, when that's what they're thinking, you have to work to break that wall. You can't come at them with the same cliche things that you would say possibly as a teacher. It's a different level of communication. And it took me a while to learn that. When I came over here, I felt like I was able to connect more with the families. And now, if there are new families that are coming about, they might know me because they had a friend who worked with me before. The students know me, that type of thing. So being relatable, I think, was the biggest thing. And then knowing how to speak with them and connect with them on a different level.
All right. All right. So to keep going, what have you learned about yourself from the students? And you know what? Because your job is a bit unique. You deal with students and families.
Uh-huh.
So in your role as a PPW, what have you learned about yourself from the students and families? What have you learned about yourself?
What have I learned about myself that maybe I didn't know before?
Maybe you knew it before. Maybe I highlighted it a little bit more.
Okay.
Just a lesson you've learned, I
Yeah.
guess, about yourself, or just something, a characteristic, even. Something.
Yeah. I've had multiple students and parents tell me that I'm caring. And not to say I didn't know I was caring before, but in our role too, we, help to break those barrier down, but we also have to uphold policy. So sometimes it's hard to come across as like a supportive person all the time because sometimes you're reading law to them in a sense. But there have been situations where parents will say to me, like, even with all this happening, I feel like you were patient with me and I knew that you cared and you cared about my child. I can remember this one parent who everything was happening. Lost the house, eviction, lost her job, students with special needs. She had an older child who was with juvenile services, just a lot going on. And because she wasn't in the community for that long, the community agencies weren't really helping because you have to kind of live here for 6 months or so before they kind of step in. So it was just so much happening. And it was people, kind of sending her here or there. And once everything was done and she finally got a placement, we got transportation. I think they ended up in Baltimore City at the end. And we got transportation to come. And she just like called me. She was like, you have no idea, even though you weren't always sharing good news with me, you have no idea how much it meant just for you to listen and show that you cared about what I was saying. And you took the time out to do that. So I've heard that more than once, and I hope that's true. But they just said that they feel like in general they know I care.
That's good. So I don't think that maybe that was one. I don't know, but can you think of what was a defining moment in your role that you'll never forget?
That was one. That was definitely one. Trying to think of another one. I mean, I do a lot with attendance, and especially post-COVID, high school attendance is tough, right?
What
because
do you mean? I'm joking. I'm joking.
They just, some kids it didn't affect them in that way. Others, it's like, I don't want to get up and go to school. So I think the pivotal moments for me is when you have this history of chronic absenteeism, and then a light bulb goes off and they start coming. So I started doing attendance groups at our high school, and and it's an opportunity for me to kind of connect with them, and it offers mentoring, all that. But we kind of look at what are the barriers that's keeping you from coming to school? What are some interventions you could do for yourself? And I had one student who, 11th grade year, she just had this turnaround. And she told me, she was like, the attendance groups really helped me because it allowed me to kind of reflect on my part in my attendance. Now, there were some other things that were happening at home that made it hard for her to get here every day and on time. But she was just like, I had to get myself together. And having that time to kind of reflect really allowed me to get myself together. And she really did turn around her attendance the next year.
That's good. That's good.
Yep.
So kind of now still just digging into your role and what value you bring. It's that's really the question. What value does your role as a PPW, not necessarily just looking at you as an individual, but your role and your job, what value does it bring to your school and your community?
We're often seen as fixers. Like people say that all the time, like, okay, the PPW can fix everything. Now, we can't fix everything, right? But we are often those people that are brought in with certain crises and things like that. But we are support. We are support for families. We are advocates for families. We are connecting to community resources. It's trying, the big thing with our job is trying to make sure that if a family is experiencing a hardship, we are doing everything we can to make that hardship not be evident in the school. So they can walk in just like any other student would, be prepared for learning just like they would. Home may have a lot going on, but in school, we want to create a space that is not like that. So how can we remove barriers? Is it getting you resources, food, clothing, financial help, making sure that you're connected to mentorship programs, things like that is our big thing. So removing barriers, support, connection with families, and community.
Gotcha. Okay. So let's say Tremaine McCaskill says that, I'm tired of my job. I'm tired of doing what I do. You know what, Rhoda? I want to do what you do. What should people know about your position before going into it? Because I think most people, they see, man, you really help out a lot of families. I want to do that. Or, oh, man, like for me in my role as an administrator, like, man, as an administrator, you're in charge of the school. I want to do that. It ain't that simple. So what should people know about your position before going into it?
So it is an extremely multitasking type of position. You have to multitask and juggle a lot of things at the same time. Families, schools, staff, principals, everybody. If multitasking isn't your thing, this is not the job for you. And I think outside of the multitasking comment, you need to kind of be in a certain mental space because, like I said, daily you are hearing about these sometimes horrific type of events that happen and things that are happening with families. And you have to put on that hat, the supportive hat. You have to be in a mental space to take it, be able to process it, and also be able to help the families after that. And it takes some time to kind of ground yourself in it. So I think having a certain mental space is important, and also the ability to multitask and kind of strategize, because you have to strategize, prioritize, you have to kind of think about what's best case scenario for the family. Because a lot of these families that are going through things, they may not know what's out there and they're looking to you for that help. Yeah.
Okay. With that being said, because all of those sound like challenges, right, of your job. And that's any job. Any job's going to come with challenge. Even if you're a professional athlete, while that sounds great, there's still the business and the work side of it, right? However, what would you say is the most rewarding part of your job?
Yeah, I think I mentioned this before, but I think the hard part about my job, I don't know if we've gotten to that piece yet, but the hard part really is when I'm not able to help. There are times when I can't help. Like, for instance, if there's a family that knows they're getting evicted on Friday, can't really do too much as far as resources to find them a house. We're not realtors. We can't go and find them a house. We can't necessarily pay to find them a hotel, right? Those are very difficult conversations for me. But what is rewarding is when I have case managed a family through it all, from the beginning of the crisis to now at a point in time when they're able to see themselves thrive. Because there's times they don't know they're thriving yet, and that like they've overcome. But when they actually realize, like, hey, like we've been through so much, and here we are. Those are the most rewarding parts, when I'm able to see that whole process. And even like I said, I'll have families that will just say, man, you have no idea what your support has done for me through that. Those moments are really what get me coming back to work every day.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I mean, because just like what you're saying, just like some people might not realize that you don't see how close you are to that breakthrough.
Right.
Like, you might see it.
Right.
I might see it. That family, when you're still going through it, you might not see it. So when that breakthrough actually happens, that's beautiful.
Yep.
That's beautiful.
Yep. It makes me think of that picture with the gold mining. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, I've seen that. I know exactly what you're talking about.
You're right there, but it's like you start to turn around because you don't see the diamonds behind that little piece of, grass or whatever it is.
Yep.
But you're right there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Do you feel like the most rewarding part of your job aligns with your why? Now, we'll have to go back and examine your why. So for the listeners, they're going to go back and they're going to rewind and be like, she said this is her why. And then you just told me the most rewarding part. Do the two align?
Right.
Do you feel like they align? I don't remember what your why is.
My why, I remember mentioning passion. I remember mentioning being able to connect with people and being able to help.
Okay.
So I think that's there.
Okay.
So I love to help. I love to support, and I love to connect. And this job definitely. And I think the difference was I was getting that as a teacher, but like I keep saying, with the holistic and the deeper look at the student, my role as a PPW allows me to do that. Now, not as many students as I would probably touch if I were a teacher, but I feel like I'm touching those families that need it the most. Right. So I think that part with my passion, with my love for helping and supporting, I'm hitting my why.
Okay, that's good. So in your role, define success. Also, defining success in your role, I feel like may be easier than the second part of the question.
Okay.
But also define failure. When have you felt like in your role you have failed? Okay. People are going to really want to lean into that. So that's all I'm also saying. Also put that success in there too.
Okay. A success. I mean, when I think about success in my role, success is, what I've been talking about with case managing and seeing those families come out on the other side. That's success for me. Success is seeing those chronically absent kids not be chronically absent anymore. Success is seeing those kids who are dealing with a lot. They face all the hardships, but feeling like just one of the regular school kids that are walking through this building, not feeling different, but feeling like they belong, like having that sense of belonging. That's success for me. Failure. Failure, I mean, because I'm a helper, I love to help. I want everybody who reaches out to me who needs support to have success. But sometimes I do have to say to parents, this is policy. We're kind of bound by policy with this. Or I have to say those type of things like, you may have gotten evicted. This may be happening. I've had situations where, let's say there was a custody disagreement and, one parent A is very supportive. Parent A is in our school district and student is thriving here, doing everything they need to do. Parent B won the custody battle and student has to go with parent B and start over. Those are hard. So failure for me is that, like, not being able to actually help that family get them to that other side. And sometimes it may feel like a failure in one moment, and then, months later we're able to pick up where we left off depending on the situation and kind of help them through that. But failure to me is not being able to help them.
Okay. In your opinion, what is the greatest challenge we face in education today? This could be bigger than obviously you and I.
Yeah, I mean,
what's the greatest challenge?
The greatest challenge to me is the home and school connection. And I love that.
First person to say that.
It is huge. I started in 2007, and as a young teacher, I just felt like the connection that I had with parents was different than when I left the classroom when I left class 2019. Totally different experience. I felt like I had a lot more parents who were more supportive and who were really valuing me as a teacher. Towards the end of my teaching time, I felt like I had less parents who were valuing me as a teacher. It became very student or child focused on, my child as an individual, lack of accountability.
Why do you think that is? I don't want to cut you off. I want to mess up your train of thought. But like, I agree with you. Like I was saying, it's not the first time I've heard somebody give that answer. Why do you feel like that is?
I think parenting style changed. I think a different set of people. You had possibly, we grew up with baby boomer parents You know, maybe around that time in 2003, there were more older Gen X. Now we have millennial, you know, or younger Gen X parents.
Yeah.
And I think parenting style changed because we saw different things and experienced different things. If you think about neighborhoods, right? Think about how we grew up. If you were outside misbehaving, your parent trusted Miss Johnson down the street to tell you about yourself.
Right.
Right? That's not parenting today.
Now they about to go fight Miss Johnson.
Exactly. So our parents also had trust in us too, where we could actually like walk to the mall by ourselves. And you know, there's so many factors. There's social media. There is more advertised, some of the like negative things that may be happening in the community compared to when we were kids. So parenting style has changed, in my opinion. It's a more protective. I think a lot of newer parents are protective, right? In a way that some may say may be more enabling, right? But I don't know if values that those parents in 2007 had, where they were more so on accountability and respect and discipline. And not to say there aren't parents today that are doing that. I'm not saying that.
Of course.
But I think
nothing's absolute.
It's different in how parenting as a society is happening. There's factors to that now. We're post-COVID. There's so many things. Social media is crazy. So there's a lot that those parents in 2007 didn't have to worry about that they have to worry about now. But I think it changed parenting. And I think, to me, the partnership was better back then than it is now, as far as the trust that parents have for teachers, and the willingness to partner. So I do like what the county's doing and like community schools and all that, and trying to get back to those days of the parents knowing that we're in this together. It takes both. It takes parents, it takes school to kind of help your child be successful. But to me, that is like our biggest downfall.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. I think if I were in the same position, I think one of the things for me that's always been a challenge as an administrator is I know the kids. We see them every single day, right? Good and bad. We see them every single day. The teachers in the building, I know them, the good and the bad ones, right? And I know the more you get to see them, talk to them, get to know them, you get to know like you get to just know them as people, right? And they also get to know you, and there's as time goes on, a mutual understanding that, you know, my intentions are good, even if you've done something wrong, and same vice versa. The wild card in a lot of this, though, are the parents. I don't know who I'm about to get on this phone when I pick up a call.
Exactly.
Am I about to get cussed out, or am I about to get a supporting parent?
Right.
Unfortunately, we're starting to see that is shifting more and more and more to where before I knew I was going to get, like, me telling you I'm going to call your mama was a threat. And the kid was like, oh, no, let me tighten up. Now it's like, I got her phone right here. I can go ahead and call it for you.
Exactly.
And the mama going to call and cuss me out because of that. So it's like that divide is there.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, we need to try to work on that divide, or like.
But I think the communication part kind of drifted too, like as far as how much teachers were communicating with parents and vice versa. Like I just think it's kind of just like we're doing our own thing.
Right.
And I don't feel like it's intentional, but I think it's just very much so like, you know, we're working separate entities. The child comes to school, you're responsible, and then when I'm home, I'm responsible. Right. And that's not the case anymore.
There's so many parents who cuss teachers out. The teachers are just like, yo, I don't want to call. Like, as an administrator, it's frustrating whenever I have to deal with the kid and I ask the teacher, have you called at home? And the teacher's answer is no. Right. That's very frustrating. But I have also started to kind of shift my mindset of I need you to call, but I get why you did it.
Yeah.
Because I'm just trying to teach and I'm getting cussed out by this kid. I'm having an issue with this kid. I don't want to now be degraded whenever I call this
for the
parent.
Right.
So
You want the support. You want the support.
And like, I'm not calling you to do everything. I just need you just to know, like, here's some things that's going on.
Yeah.
Can we partnership?
Yeah.
That partnership.
Yeah. And I think what works with the community schools too is the idea of meeting them where they are. Like the teachers actually going into the community, taking the time to actually go and knock on their doors and meet them where they are. I think is bridging some of that, so their walls come down. You made the time to come out here to come see me about my child. Is making them feel like that level of care and trust is there.
Right.
So I think it's the right idea. I don't know how quickly it can move, but I think that's like our biggest downfall in school is that lack of support, because you had parents that were, even if it wasn't your parent who was doing homework with you, your friend's mom was doing homework.
Right.
And the question is, does this mom now trust this mom to do homework with my child?
Right.
It's some of that. And we've created this very protective kind of parenting style. Where it's like, I gotta watch out for my kid. I don't know about teacher. I don't know about, Miss Susie who lives down the street. I don't know about them. I gotta focus on my child.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just different. It's not like you said in the beginning about how it takes a village. It's not like that.
The village is
the village
fractured.
is we're working in silos now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. This is the last question.
Okay.
Okay. And this is a big one for me because it's oftentimes think about, our legacy, right? And we do what we do to help out our students and our families and our communities and so on and so forth. When you have hit your mark where you're like, you know what, I'm tired, I'm going to retire, I'm all done, so on and so forth. How would you like your students to remember you?
I think that care piece is big for me. Yes, I love the idea that I taught you something, but I want them to think about the fact that I was someone who truly cared about them and about their well-being and about their future. Because for me, that encompasses the whole thing. That means I care about your learning. That means I care about your health. All of it. I want you to know, I want a child to know that I truly cared about them at all levels.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you would like to say before we wrap this up?
No, but I enjoyed this. I think these type of conversations are good just so that, we can get different perspectives and kind of see, where everybody is with education right now.
Right.
Yeah.
See, but this is also why I was talking to, I'm not going to say her name, but in our text or whatever, she was like, I don't know if I should do it today. It's going to be very negative. I'm like, hey, look, sometimes you have those days, right? And something like this could be good to vent and good for people to hear. Like, not every day is a good day, right? So every day is a good day, but you get what I'm saying. Like, yeah, so some days are rougher than others.
And your perspective is different on some days too, depending on what you've been through.
Absolutely.
So I think this dialogue is good. What I would love too is if we all, everybody who does the video probably comes together, opportunity to look at everybody else's video and kind of just dialogue about what everybody said.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it's not to say that we're going to have immediate action today, but I think it's the idea to kind of just be amongst people who understand and be able to talk about it.
Our educational system, again, just kind of going back to what I was saying earlier, I think our educational system is fractured as well in the sense of, well, when the kid is in my classroom, I'm gonna just take care of them, right? But not realizing there's a lot of other people who come in contact with that child who we need to be connecting with and talking to, right? So the whole idea behind Hall Pass Heroes, which is what this is called, is it's not just, it doesn't all just fall on Rhoda. It doesn't all just fall on Tremaine. It doesn't all just fall on Nicole or whoever else it may be. This takes a community, it takes a village, and we all should be in communication and knowing yo, I know that as a classroom teacher, you work hard. I get that. But as a PPW, I work hard too. My work just looks different. As an administrator, I work hard too. It just looks different.
Yeah.
We're all working hard. We're all working on behalf of these children.
Right. And I think that going back to the whole silos, I think everybody's doing it, And I'm not just saying parents are, but it's schools are too. Sometimes it's you only have thinking about what we may have gone through in the past 5 years with COVID. It's my capacity is this right now. I may not be able to do all these other things, but I think we have to get back to that community.
Yeah, we can't just lock ourselves in our cubicle.
That's right.
And just kind of just do that. So.
That's right.
Okay. All right, Rhoda, I do appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, all right.